So for this one here, we can again combine our like terms. So I want to put the x's, in this case, I'm going to put them on the right left-hand side. So I'm going to add 44x to this side. I'm going to add 44x to this side. I want to get rid of the minus 441s on the right-hand side. So I'm going to add 440 and add 440. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight my zero pairs here. I've got a zero pair here that cancels. I've got a zero pair here that cancels. Then I just account for my left side and right side. I have 110 x's on this side. I have 550 ones on this side. I'm going to divide, get rid of that times 110 with a divide by 110. Make sure I balance, do it on both sides. So my final answer works out to be x is equal to 5. In D, it's good to combine like terms. So to do that, we really need to get rid of the groupings or the brackets. So I'm going to get rid of the brackets by distributing out the brackets. So I end up with 3x's plus 3 groups of 3 ones is plus 9, plus 17 is equal to x plus 7. Whenever possible, you should really combine like terms to make it easier to work with. But we only combine the ones terms here. X's can't combine with the ones. So at this point, I'm going to get rid of the extra x on this side. That puts all my x's on the left-hand side. So this is my zero pair. So I want to make another zero pair to get rid of the plus 26 with a minus 26. Again, we have to make sure we balance the equation. We have to do it on both sides. Once I've balanced the equation, I want to tally up what's on the left side and right side. So I have 2x's on the left side. On the right-hand side, I get minus 19. Okay, so I have negative 19 on this side. So then I can solve for my x by dividing by 2, although 2 does not divide into 19 very nicely. We can just leave it as a fraction. So x is equal to negative 19 over 2, which is really 9.5. Here we have fractions and brackets. It's always a good idea to get rid of the brackets first before we get rid of the fractions. Now we could do it the other way around, but it's a little bit harder to keep track of. So in general, what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute out the brackets. Now when I multiply fractions, times is only on the top, so I never multiply the denominator. Times on top, divide on bottom. So this becomes 6 over 5 x. In fact, since it's times x, really I can just put it in the numerator as 6 times x minus 2 times 8 is negative 16 equals 26. Okay, now at this point I can get rid of that divide by 5. The times 5, the 5's cancel, so I'm just left with 6x. I have to make sure I multiply every term by the 5. So I get minus 80 equals 130. Get rid of the minus 80 with a plus 80. And I end up with 6x is equal to 210. Get rid of the times with the divide by 6 on both sides. So I get x is equal to, that looks like 35. Okay, so x equals 35 is my solution. Here we end up with the same thing, so I want to distribute first. And again, when I multiply fractions, the times only goes on top and not on the bottom. So the times 5 only shows up on the top. I have to remember to multiply, distribute that to the 18. In this case, the previous case, I've got rid of the fraction first before I got rid of the plus or the minus. This case, I'm just gonna get rid of that 90, minus 90 on both sides. So I'm gonna do plus 90 on both sides. So I end up with 5 times a divided by 4. And that doesn't look very nice, but that's a 15. So 15 plus 90 is 105. Okay, so I can get rid of this times 4 with a, divide 4 with a times 4. I can get rid of the times 5 with a divide 5. So I'm just going to do that all in one step. So I end up with a times 4. And I'm going to get rid of the times 5 with a divide 5. Okay, and that works out. I did this one slightly differently, so if it's hard to follow, you can just do it all both in just separate steps, but I kind of did it in one step. So here then I end up with 4 times 105 divided by 5. I'm going to divide 105 by 5 first to get 21. 21 times 4 gives me my solution, A equals 84. This one here just involves lots of fractions and brackets. I could try to get rid of the fractions first, but really it's probably a good idea to just get rid of the brackets first. So I'm going to distribute this out. Okay, now you could multiply everything by 5, but if you do that, you have to be very careful not to double multiply. So to avoid that, I'm just going to multiply out the brackets. Times on top, so it becomes times 8 on top, divide 8 on bottom. Sorry, divide by 5 on bottom. So same thing here, I'm going to just distribute this out. All I'm doing is distributing. Times 3 times x, divide by 5, minus 3 times 3 is 9, divide by 5, then minus 4 plus x. Nothing happens to those. So there it is. I could try to combine like terms, but there's fractions and whole numbers. So I'm just going to get rid of the fractions, get rid of that divide by 5 with a multiply by 5. The 5's cancel out, so I'm just left with x. The 5's cancel out, so I'm left with 8. Plus, nothing cancels here, so I have to times 5 onto the 2x. The times 5 divide 5 cancels, so I'm just left with 3x. The times 5 divide 5 cancel in this case. Nothing cancels, so I have to do 4 times 5 equals 20 plus 5x. So I'm going to combine my like terms. 11x minus 8 on the left-hand side, 8x minus 29 on the right-hand side. So again, I'm going to put the x's on the left-hand side, so I'm going to do minus 8x minus 8x. I'm going to get rid of minus 8 with a plus 8 plus 8. Okay, just keeping track of what is canceling and what's not canceling. Okay, those are going to cancel out. So I end up with 11 minus 8 is 3 x's. Negative 29 plus 8 gives me negative 21. They count against each other. Last step is divide by 3. X is equal to negative 7 as my final solution.